In a not-so-distant future, on a planet called Arcadia, humans had taken a unique turn in their relationship with animals. They called them pets, but they were not like any pets people knew on Earth. Arcadians had engineered intelligent dogs that could talk and help with everyday tasks. These dogs were capable of doing math, understanding human emotions, and even having conversations about art and science. The people adored them, often treating them as equals, but life on Arcadia was about to change dramatically. In a small town called Greenfield, lived a man named Leo. He was an ordinary man with an extraordinary dog named Max. Max was a large, golden Labrador with a shiny coat and bright, sparkling eyes. The two were inseparable, spending every day together, going on adventures, and sharing their thoughts. Max often quipped about the weather, and Leo would laugh, saying, "You're the best weather forecaster I know." Despite Leo's happiness, there were those from the dominant species, the Xylodons, who scoffed at the humans and their pets. The Xylodons were tall, blue, and had 3 eyes, a species that believed they were superior to humans. They saw the dogs as mere animals, incapable of real thought and emotion. They often sneered at humans, saying, "Look at them, they think their dogs can talk. How foolish." This made Leo sad, but he knew how special Max was. One day, a group of Xylodons came to Greenfield. They were on a mission to show the humans how weak they were. Their leader, a tall Xylodon named Grather, was notorious for being cruel and merciless. He gathered the townspeople and announced, "Your dogs are nothing. They cannot protect you. They are only animals." He laughed, and the crowd fell silent, unsure of what to say. Leo felt anger rise in him. He stepped forward, holding Max's collar tightly. "You're wrong. Max is more than just a dog. He understands me, he helps me, and he loves me. He can think and feel just like we do." Grather looked down at Leo with disdain. "Is that so? Let me show you how foolish you humans are. I challenge you. If your dog is so smart, he should be able to protect you from harm." With that, Grather turned to his muscular guards and shouted, "Capture the human." The guards lunged for Leo, but before they could reach him, Max leapt in front of his owner, barking fiercely. His fur bristled as he stood tall and protective. Leo felt a rush of pride. Max was brave, and he would do anything to keep him safe. Seeing this, Grather only laughed harder. "Let's see how brave your dog is when you are in danger." He motioned for his guards to back away, and he took hold of Leo, lifting him from the ground with ease. "Max!" "No!" Leo shouted. His heart raced, fearing for both his life and Max's. But instead of cowering, Max began to growl deeply, the sound echoing through the silent crowd. The Xylodon stepped back, surprised by the intensity of the noise. "You think that's enough? How cute," Grather taunted. He tightened his grip on Leo, making him wince. "Shall I drop your precious human?" He raised Leo higher, giving him a chance to see the fear in the eyes of the townspeople. But Max had had enough. With a powerful leap, he charged at Grather, snapping his jaws close to the Xylodon's face. The surprise was evident on Grather's 3 eyes. The guards were caught off guard as well, not expecting such a fierce reaction from the dog. Then something incredible happened. As Max lunged, he seemed to glow with a bright light, his energy forming a barrier around Leo. The ground trembled as the energy surged toward Max, and suddenly, he was surrounded by a shimmering aura. All at once, the Xylodon guards felt a strange sensation. They had never encountered anything like it, a feeling of fear mixed with awe. Grather stumbled back, releasing Leo. The townspeople gasped, realizing that Max was not just an ordinary dog, he was a protector by nature. "Leave him alone!" Max barked, his voice booming in a way that resonated through the air. The Xylodons were now visibly shaken. They hadn't considered that a dog could possess such power. For the first time, they felt fear. Grather, realizing they were losing the control of the situation, turned and shouted, "Retreat! We'll regroup." With that, the group of Xylodons hurried away, disappearing into the distance. The townspeople erupted in cheers. They rushed to Leo and Max, celebrating their unlikely hero. Max wagged his tail, soaking in the love and admiration from the crowd. Leo hugged his dog tightly. "You did it, Max. You showed them." Max's eyes sparkled with happiness. "I just wanted to protect you, Leo. That's what friends do." The incident sparked a change in Greenfield. People began to see their dogs not just as pets, but as equals, partners, and protectors. The story of Max spread across Arcadia, inspiring humans everywhere to stand up for themselves and their loved ones. Months passed, and the Xylodons became more respectful towards the humans after realizing the power of their bond with their pets. Grather, however, never forgot that day. He learned that underestimating a dog, particularly one like Max, could have serious consequences. And so, on the planet Arcadia, laughter turned into understanding, and respect grew from the love between humans and their dogs. Leo and Max continued to have adventures together, proving time and again that true power comes not from size or strength, but from love and loyalty. The year is 2742. Humans, once a fledgling species, now held a respected, if somewhat eccentric, place among the galactic community. Their eccentricities mostly revolved around their pets, four-legged, furry creatures they called dogs. These creatures were considered utterly pointless by most other species. The Kryll, a six-limbed, insectoid race known for their cold logic, found the human-dog bond utterly baffling. The Zith, a sentient plant species that communicated through bioluminescent patterns, considered it wasteful. On the bustling spaceport of Xylos, a tense atmosphere crackled. A delegation of Kryll, led by the stoic Xyler, had arrived for trade negotiations. Their delegation ship, a sleek obsidian vessel that hummed with barely contained power, dwarfed the human transport ship, a cheerfully painted vessel named the Happy Hound. Humans, led by Ambassador Illyra Vance, a woman with a kind smile and a surprisingly sharp wit, were ready. With her was her dog, a golden retriever named Sunny. Sunny was her constant companion, a fluffy embodiment of human absurdity in the Kryll's eyes. The Kryll, known for their disdain of emotional displays, openly mocked the dogs. Xyler, during a preliminary meeting, couldn't suppress a snort. "These creatures," he rasped, his voice a clicking series of sounds translated by universal translators, "consume resources. They offer no practical value." Several other human delegates chuckled nervously. Illyra, however, remained calm. "Ambassador Xyler," she replied, her voice smooth, "you assess value through a very narrow lens. To us, Sunny's value is immeasurable." The ensuing negotiations were fraught with tension. The Kryll, renowned for their ruthless bargaining tactics, aimed to secure favorable trade deals. They repeatedly made snide remarks about Sunny, who lay patiently at Illyra's feet, occasionally lifting his head and giving a friendly thump of his tail. One particularly obnoxious Kryll delegate, Zil, even went so far as to deliberately bump into Sunny, causing a small yelp. A collective gasp went up from the human delegation. Illyra's smile vanished, replaced by a look of steel. The room's temperature seemed to drop. Sunny whimpered, his tail now tucked between his legs. "Zil," Illyra said, her voice dangerously low, "I suggest you offer a sincere apology." Zil, oblivious to the shift in Illyra's demeanor, scoffed. "Apologize? For a minor inconvenience caused by a pet?" He made a dismissive gesture with one of his 6 limbs. The other Kryll delegates watched with a mixture of amusement and anticipation. They knew humans were capable of great things, but in the face of KRYLL logic, emotions were often swept aside. Suddenly, Sonny began to bark, a low growl vibrating in his chest. Illyra's hand, instinctively, went to a small device concealed beneath her diplomatic robes. It was a neural interface, capable of creating a short-term, temporary link to the minds of her canine companion. The room fell silent. The KRYLL, who had never encountered such a close link between a species and its pet, felt a chill creep down their chitinous spines. They were facing a being who could access an animal's raw instincts, primal urges, and immense strength. Through the neural link, Illyra felt Sonny's anger, a surge of protectiveness towards her. It was fierce, potent. Illyra could feel the fear of the KRYLL, their insectoid minds momentarily overwhelmed by this display of emotion they couldn't comprehend. Illyra did not directly control Sonny, but she channeled his anger, focusing it, making it clear that the KRYLL's behavior would not be tolerated. Sonny's growls intensified, becoming a menacing sound that resonated through the chamber. His eyes, usually soft and friendly, glowed with an alarming intensity. He bared his teeth, a low snarl accompanying his growls. The KRYLL instinctively backed away. Zill, pale beneath his exoskeleton, stammered an apology. The other delegates quickly followed suit, their clicking voices offering rushed apologies and promises of respect. The KRYLL were a rational species, but they understood the raw power of primal instincts. They had underestimated the human-dog bond. The incident marked a turning point in intergalactic relations. The KRYLL, now acutely aware of the potential power inherent in the human-animal bond, re-evaluated their perspectives. The other species began to show respect for human pets, understanding the powerful, almost psychic connection between humans and their companions. In the following years, the humans and KRYLL reached a mutually beneficial trade agreement. The humans gained access to KRYLL technology, and the KRYLL discovered the value of emotional intelligence, a concept they had previously dismissed as sentimental nonsense. The Happy Hound made regular trips between planets, Sonny always by Illyra's side, a furry ambassador of interspecies understanding, reminding everyone that true strength comes not only from technology and cold logic, but also from a deeply connected heart. The laughter ceased. In its place was a newfound respect, a recognition of the power that lay in the bond between human and dog, a bond so powerful it could change the course of galactic history. The year is 2742. Humans, once a fledgling species, now stand shoulder to shoulder with the galactic community. But some things never change. Among the Xylar, a species of tall, slender beings with iridescent skin, humans were considered quaint. Their obsession with furry, four-legged creatures, affectionately called pets, was a source of endless amusement. On the bustling marketplace of Xylos, the Xylar capital, a common sight was a human, usually accompanied by a dog, a cat, or sometimes even a particularly fluffy rabbit. These creatures, seemingly insignificant compared to the Xylar's advanced technology and sophisticated society, were treated with a surprising amount of affection by their human owners. The Xylar would often gather, whispering amongst themselves and pointing, their amusement echoing through the vibrant marketplace. One such human was Illyra Vance. A young, bright-eyed researcher, Illyra had come to Xylos to study Xylar bioluminescence. Her constant companion was a golden retriever named Kepler. Kepler was a big dog with soft fur, and Illyra loved him dearly. He was always by her side, a comforting presence in a world that felt both exciting and overwhelming. One day, while Illyra was conducting a study in the Xylar Botanical Gardens, a group of Xylar youths began to taunt Kepler. They mimicked his barks, making fun of his size, and even tried to pull his tail. Illyra, initially hesitant to intervene, watched with growing concern as Kepler started to whimper, his tail tucked low. The taunting escalated. One particularly bold Xylar youth, Zylth, kicked Kepler lightly. This was the last straw. Illyra, usually mild-mannered and reserved, stepped forward. Her eyes, usually full of kindness, flashed with a fierce protectiveness. "Stop it," Illyra said, her voice low but firm. Her words, spoken in the common galactic tongue, were clear and understandable to the Xyler. But Zylth, emboldened by his friends and the amusement of the surrounding crowd, laughed. "Oh, is the little human defending her, pet?" he sneered, his iridescent skin shimmering with amusement. The other Xyler youths joined in, their laughter a discordant chorus in the otherwise serene gardens. Illyra remained calm, but her grip tightened on the small data pad she held. She knew her research was important, but her loyalty to Kepler overrode any scientific concern at that moment. She took a deep breath, her posture shifting from hesitant to assertive. "He's not a pet," Illyra said, her voice ringing with quiet strength. "He's my family." The laughter died down as Zylth and his friends stared at her. They had expected a display of fear, an apology, perhaps even a hurried retreat. Instead, they faced a resolute human woman, her eyes blazing with a protective intensity they had never encountered before. Something shifted in the air, a palpable change in the atmosphere. Illyra wasn't just standing up for Kepler, she was standing up for every human, for their bond with their companion animals, for the overlooked and underestimated strength of human emotion. The simple act of defending Kepler resonated with a power far beyond mere words. Suddenly, a low growl emanated from Kepler. It wasn't a playful bark, but a deep, rumbling sound that sent shivers down the Xyler youth's spines. Kepler's golden fur stood on end, his eyes narrowed, his body tensed. He was no longer a playful dog, he was a protector, embodying the unwavering loyalty of his human. Zylth, momentarily stunned, took a step back. The other youths followed suit, their laughter replaced with a nervous silence. They had underestimated the depth of the human-animal bond, the fierce protectiveness it could unleash. They had underestimated Illyra. Just then, a group of Xyler elders, alerted by the commotion, arrived on the scene. They observed the situation with keen interest, their iridescent skin shifting colors subtly as they assessed the dynamic. They had witnessed the Xyler youths taunting, and they had also witnessed Illyra's unwavering defense of her companion. The elders addressed the youths, their reprimand firm but measured. They explained the importance of respect and understanding, not just for humans, but for all sentient beings, regardless of their perceived status or size. The Xyler youths, humbled and chastened, bowed their heads in apology. News of the incident spread quickly through Xylos. The story of Illyra and Kepler became a legend, a tale of unexpected strength and unwavering loyalty. The Xyler, known for their scientific prowess and their analytical minds, began to see humans in a new light. They had always studied human behavior, but now, they were beginning to understand the depth of human emotion, the unwavering bonds of love and loyalty that transcended species and cultures. The laughter had ceased, replaced by a newfound respect. The Xyler learned that day that a seemingly insignificant creature, when bonded with a human heart, could possess a power far greater than any technology. The underestimated pets had become a symbol of human resilience and loyalty, forever changing the Xyler's perception of humanity. The bond between Illyra and Kepler, once a source of amusement, now stood as a testament to the strength of human connection, a connection that would forever shape the relationship between the humans and the Xyler. Illyra continued her research, Kepler always by her side, a silent guardian, a symbol of the deep and unbreakable bond that silenced laughter and fostered understanding. In the year 2125, Earth had changed drastically. Technology was everywhere, but nothing was more popular than the concept of human pets. It was a strange trend that began as a joke but soon became a lifestyle. People treated each other like pets, wearing collars and playing fetch in parks. This strange new norm baffled many onlookers and led to all sorts of laughter and giggles. One day, in the bustling city of Neodora, there lived a woman named Clara. She was a kind person with a very special pet, a big, fluffy dog named Max. Max was a massive German shepherd with a heart full of love and loyalty. Unlike others who entertained the idea of being pet-like, Clara loved Max deeply and took her role as his owner seriously. People often teased her for being too serious about her dog, calling her a pet keeper while smirking at her. Despite the laughter, Clara remained devoted to Max. She walked him every morning, played with him at the park, and even let him sleep in her bed at night. Max was more than just a dog, he was her best friend, a part of her family. One sunny day, as Clara and Max strolled through Freedom Park, they noticed an unusual gathering. A group of people had formed an audience around an elderly man who was showing off his exotic pet, a tiny creature with bright blue skin and big yellow eyes. The crowd laughed and marveled at the little being as it danced around. Clara watched, intrigued but also slightly confused by their behavior. Suddenly, the atmosphere shifted. A pair of rough-looking men pushed through the crowd, reckless and loud. They decided to mock the elderly man's creature, calling it ugly and worthless. The laughter turned to murmurs of disbelief, but no one dared to intervene. The elderly man, clearly upset, tried to protect his pet. "Please, stop. You don't understand," he pleaded. But the men only laughed harder, their voices booming over the crowd. Clara's heart raced as she saw the elderly man grow increasingly anxious. It was then she felt something rise within her. How could they bully someone over something they didn't understand? Just as she was about to take action, Max began to growl softly, sensing her rising tension. Clara tightly held onto his leash, knowing that he could sense the distress. The men noticed Max, shifting their focus. "Look at that big dog," one of them sneered. "He's just a pet. What can he do?" Before she could think twice, Clara spoke up. "That's my dog, and I assure you, he is not just a pet. He is family." The crowd grew quiet as they turned to watch the confrontation. Max stood tall, his strong posture causing the men to take a step back. "Family?" One of the men laughed. "What a joke. It's just a dog. Dogs can't protect you. They can't do anything important." He stepped closer, a challenging smirk on his face. "Don't test him," Clara warned, her voice steady. "He may look like a dog, but he is much more than that. And so are all of us here. Don't judge what you don't understand." Max let out a low growl, which sent a chill of realization through the crowd. Suddenly, the laughter faded. The crowd seemed to understand they were not just watching a simple act of bullying, they were witnessing something deeper. The short man took a daring step closer to Clara and Max, in an attempt to prove his point. "What if I take your little toy and throw it?" he said, brandishing a stick. Clara's heart raced, and she felt the world tilt for a moment. Max's growl deepened, and the confidence of the crowd began to shift. Clara, feeling adrenaline fuel her strength, stepped in front of Max. "You don't want to do that," she said, her voice firm yet calm. "You threaten Max, you threaten me." The man paused, surprised by her courage. Laughter faded, tension replaced it. Around them, the crowd murmured, unsure of what would happen next. They began to realize that this was not just about a dog being threatened, this was about loyalty, love, and the bond between Clara and Max. For a moment, the air thickened with anticipation. Clara could see fear cross the man's face. He slowly lowered the stick and took a step back. In that instant, the crowd erupted into cheers, rallying behind Clara. Everyone had been watching, some with worry, others with intrigue, and all realized the weight of what was at stake. Max barked once, confidently, as if to say, "I am here to protect my owner." The crowd roared its approval, chanting, "Family! Family!" The laughter that had once filled the air transformed into respect and solidarity. The two men, no longer bravado-filled, shuffled backward, realizing they were in over their heads. They didn't just threaten a dog, they had threatened a bond that the crowd now recognized was sacred. After the confrontation, Clara knelt beside Max, petting him lovingly. "Good boy," she whispered, her voice filled with gratitude. The elderly man approached, still holding his tiny creature, a warm smile on his face. "Thank you for standing up for everyone," he said. "It seems that love knows no boundaries, whether you're human or not." As the sun set, casting a golden hue over Neodora, the laughter that had once surrounded the human pet idea now ebbed into a deeper understanding. Clara looked around, feeling a part of something larger, a community united by love and respect. It didn't matter if they were seen as pets or keepers, they were all family. That day, Clara learned that the bond between humans and their pets was much more profound than anyone could laugh at. It was a connection built on trust, loyalty, and love that could overcome ignorance and fear. And in that moment, Clara knew that anyone who mistreated a loved one would face the strength of a community ready to rise in protection. In a world ever full of laughter and challenges, they had found a truth that would resonate far beyond their expectations. That day, laughter turned into respect, and the bond between humans and dogs became a symbol of unity, hope, and love, forever cherished in the hearts of all who witnessed it. In the small town of Willow Creek, life moved at a slow and peaceful pace. The sun shone brightly, and the streets were lined with trees that seemed to whisper secrets to one another. Among the town's residents was Clara, a soft-spoken woman with a warm smile and a beloved golden retriever named Max. They were inseparable. Wherever Clara went, Max followed, his wagging tail spreading joy to everyone they encountered. One warm afternoon, Clara took Max for a walk in the park. They passed through the open fields, where children flew kites and families had picnics under the shade of the ancient oak trees. As Clara tossed a stick for Max to fetch, she noticed a group of strangers gathered in a corner of the park. They wore strange clothing that glimmered in the sunlight, unlike the usual attire of Willow Creek's residents. Clara felt a twinge of curiosity. Suddenly, one of the strangers, a tall figure with silver hair and glowing skin, approached Clara. His name was Ziller, and he came from a planet far beyond the stars, where pets were considered sacred. Ziller had heard stories of Earth dogs, particularly how much love they shared with their owners. He wanted to understand this bond, so he asked Clara if he could observe Max. Clara felt pleased and a little proud. "Of course. Max loves meeting new friends," she replied, holding the leash a little tighter. Ziller knelt down, extending a hand to Max. The dog sniffed curiously, then wagged his tail excitedly, accepting the alien's greeting. Clara laughed as Ziller's cheeks glowed brighter with Max's affection. However, the mood shifted when another stranger from the group approached. His name was Varn, and unlike Ziller, he seemed cold and distant. "You mustn't let that creature get too close," he warned Clara, pointing at Max. "Your love for it only makes it weak." Clara frowned at Varn's harsh words. "Max is not weak. He is strong, and he is loved." She felt a spark of anger rise in her chest. Varn's judgment stung, and she stood protectively in front of Max. Varn smirked, a cruel glint in his eye. "People like us see the love you give as a weakness. In our world, any bond can be exploited." Ziller quickly turned to Varn, sensing tension in the air. "Let's not create conflict. This world values love and companionship. It's not weak, it's powerful." But Varn shrugged off Ziller's concerns. He reached into his cloak and revealed a strange device that hummed with energy. Clara's heart raced as she realized he had come here with a plan, one that would threaten not only her but also her beloved Max. "What are you doing?" Clara demanded, stepping back, her grip on the leash tightening. Varn smirked. "You'll see soon enough. I will show you how easily a person's love can be turned against them." He pressed a button on the device, and a bright light enveloped the park. Clara gasped as she felt a strange force emanating from the machine. Suddenly, the ground shook, and the air felt heavy. Max barked anxiously, sensing the danger. Clara knelt beside him, whispering soothing words. Then, in a flash, strange creatures emerged from the shadows of the park. They were shadowy figures with glowing eyes, drawn out by Varn's device. The creatures rushed towards Max, and Clara felt an overwhelming fear. "No! Stay away from him!" she shouted, stepping forward. But it was too late. The creatures surrounded Max, their icy touch sending chills through Clara's bones. She could feel her heart pounding in her chest, fueled by fear and love for her dog. Ziller stepped forward, his eyes aflame with urgency. "You must defend your bond, Clara. Focus on your love for Max." Clara thought of the happy moments with Max, playing fetch, cuddling on the couch, the way he always seemed to know when she was sad. Guided by her love, she reached out to Max with her heart, feeling their connection grow stronger. Max looked back at her, his confidence returning as he stood up tall. In a surge of energy, Clara shouted, "I won't let you hurt him." The words echoed fiercely around the park. Suddenly, beams of warm light radiated from Clara and Max, pushing back the shadowy creatures. The sight of their love created a barrier that repelled the darkness. Varn gasped as his device sputtered and sparked. "No! This can't be!" he yelled, anger replacing his earlier confidence. Ziller, witnessing the power of their bond, joined Clara, amplifying her energy with his own. Together, they created a wave of light that washed over the park like a massive tide, sending the creatures reeling backward. Varn stumbled, losing his grip on his device as it fizzled out, neutralized by the love radiating from Clara and Max. In a final burst of light, the creatures vanished, and silence fell over the park. Clara knelt, breathing heavily, while Max nuzzled against her side, licking her hand. Ziller smiled in awe. "You've shown true strength. Your love not only protected your dog but also taught us all a valuable lesson." Varn, now standing alone, realized the error of his ways. "I underestimated the power of love," he muttered, his voice softening. "Maybe I've been wrong all along." Clara stood tall before Varn. "Love isn't a weakness. It makes us strong. It connects us and lets us fight against darkness." Ziller nodded in agreement. "We have much to learn from this world. Perhaps it's time to return home and share your story?" With the confrontation resolved, Clara, Max, Ziller, and even Varn left the park together. They spoke of their worlds, their experiences, and the bonds that unite them. Clara found herself bonding with Ziller and even offering some understanding to Varn, who had come to appreciate the deep connection between dogs and their humans. As the sun began to set over Willow Creek, Clara felt grateful for the lesson learned that day. They had faced darkness together and emerged stronger, united by an unwavering bond that transcended all barriers. Clara, Max, Ziller, and even a changed Varn walked home under the glowing sky, their hearts full of the light of friendship and love.